All right, I think we can start. Welcome back, boys and girls. Welcome to our third session. Now, while waiting, I think we are only 10. So while waiting, maybe we can prepare sheets, tape, and tissues. As I said last week, we are not going to use the entire sheet. It's too big for a basic sketch since we are not adding a lot of details to it. So I'm just going to use only half of it. Get your parents or someone to help you to cut into half. Just half will do. Something like this. Now, if you are going to cut yourself, be careful with scissors. And last week I used normal masking tape. So this week I'll be using both. Later you can see the difference. I'll use two sides for masking tape and the other two sides artist tape. So two sides I'll be using this artist tape, the other two sides I'll be using the normal masking tape. As I said last week, if you are using masking tape, make sure you take the glue off as much as possible, otherwise it might damage the paper. You can stick it on the table or wall or carpet. Try to take out the glue as much as possible before you stick on your paper. You don't need to do that if you are using artist tape. Then cut your tissue into small pieces so later you can use them to smudge. I think just one or two pieces will do for today's class. So I'll just add these two. All right, so I think we are pretty much set. And we will be using two colors today. Last week we just used only one primary color, that's blue, but today we will be using two colors, the other two primary colors, yellow and red. So I'll be using orange, yellow, number 2. You can see it at the bottom. So I will say like yellow, orange and number 2 if you are using Pentel Pastel. I believe most of us are using Pentel Pastel for this workshop. So go for number 2, yellow, orange, and number 10, vermilion. So number 2 and number 10. And a pencil or a color pencil, black color. So if you have a black color pencil or a color pencil, take that out as well. I'm going to use color pencil. We used a normal pencil last week, so I'm going to use a black color pencil this week so you can see the difference. So I'm going to use this. Okay, if you don't have a black color pencil, just normal pencil will do. All right. Okay, so before we go into today's drawing, like a few of you asked me like why my blending smudging is not as smooth as mine. So there could be like 4 possible reasons. Number 1, the paper that we use. Number 2, the quality of oil pastel. And number 3 is the way we handle the pastel. And number 4, the way we blend, or the tools that we use to blend or smudge them, right? Let's see one by one. Okay, here I have like 3 different types of papers. Of course, we'll talk about them in detail in the next section, where we will discuss about all the tools, materials, and techniques. But today I just want to address this particular issue, right? So you could see literally there are different colors and there are different grades and there are different weights, but I just want you to feel your paper. I believe most of you using this sketch pad and some of you using pastel sheets. So I want you to feel the paper. It will be a little different than your normal A4 size papers. They'll be a little heavy and it'll be a little rough. You could see the texture as well. They call it tooth. You could feel it. The deeper the tooth, the better it will be. I'll show you the difference. Okay, so this is normal paper and this is sketch pad and this is pastel sheet. You could see the tooth, it helps to hold the pastel. You could see it. So later when you blend, it helps to release those pastel pigments. Then the blending will be a little easier than the other 2 sheets, right? So this could be one of the reasons. And the next reason is the quality of the pastel that we use. But we discussed about the different types of pastel in the last session, so I'm not going to talk about that again. Anyway, we are using the same pastel, so it shouldn't be a problem for us. And the third reason could be the way we hold the pastel. You see, like if you want to cover, last week we did this sketch, right? So for the most areas we use blue. So when you want to cover like more areas, I want you to use the pastel like this. Don't hold like pencil or pen. Put it like a little flat and use the flat area of your pastel. So that will help you to cover more areas and there won't be much space left as well. See? So rather than doing this, if you do this, it will cover more areas without space, right? And you need to hold a little firm, little strong and put it flat, right? And the fourth reason could be the tools that we use to blend. Of course, we will see them in the next session, but today I'm just going to touch only about tissue. This kitchen towel tissue. Don't try soft tissue. I know some of you use soft tissue. I want you guys to try this kitchen towel, since we need to have a little rough surface to smudge them and blend the colors. So when you pull them into small, make sure you use this side. Like I saw like a few kids were using this side last week. Don't do that. Go for this side. We need a little rough surface to blend the colors, right? And in case if you are using sketch pad, make sure you give a little more pressure than what you usually do it for crayons or pens or pencils, because it doesn't help you much with the texture. Whereas this guy, if you are using pastel sheets, you don't really have to apply that much pressure compared to the sketch pads. All right, are we good? Right, I hope it helps. Now let's move on to this week's drawing. So last week we did this, right? So we used only one primary color, that's blue, and we used pencil for the mountain. That was a pretty basic oil pastel scenery drawing. Today we are still going to do the same scenery, but we are going to use the other two primary colors, red and yellow, and we will try to add a little more shades and a little more detail compared to this scenery drawing. All right, let's start. So I'm going to use this tape. It's not coming off. Okay. I know some of you using sketchpad book. You know, like I would say, like it's better to take the papers off and stick with tapes. They give a great finishing and a frame like borders. That'll be great. So the sides I'm using masking tape. Later when we take out, we could see the difference. Right, my two pastels ready and pencil and a tissue. That's pretty much all we needed for today's class. And I was told that I was a little fast last week, so I'll try to do it as slow as possible this week. Okay? Okay, so let's start with yellow. You know, it looks a little dirt. Yep, they are good now. And last, I do not want to see an yam, you know, so we are going to make it a little more slope on either sides. Okay, so we're going to start now. Okay, from this corner give a few inches and you start it from here, make a small bump or something, and then you're going to take it a little high and then bring it down and another bump, and you're going to take it down and again a little bump, and we're going to take it high all the way and finish it. Right, simple, right? So start from here, stop here, a little bump, and that's it. Right, last week we just did like this, but today we are going to add a little more detail, so that's why we are going this. Right, so once you are done with this, then let's pick our red color, vermilion number 10. Okay, so these were like neighbor colors, so we had to start with the darker color. You know, like comparatively red is darker than yellow, so we're going to start with red. As I said earlier, if you are using the normal sheets, you have to hold it flat and give a little more pressure. Do it a little hard and do it without space, so that will help you later when you blend the pastels, smudge them. Right, I'll give a few more seconds for you guys to finish it in case if I'm too fast with this. you see like there's not a lot of space here, and my sheet holding a lot of pigments there, so later when I smudge it will be a lot smoother. Alright, so now I can just go ahead and continue from here this yellow, but I'm not going to do that. Reason is they are neighbor colors, you know, you can overlap them. So when you blend, the transition from red to yellow will be pretty smooth. So we are going to add a little more red. Right? If they are not neighbor colors, you can do that. You can overlap them. For example, if you have blue here, if you are going to use yellow on top of that, that blending will become a green. There will not be a smooth transition, right? So now I can start from here. I can use yellow, I can overlap on red. So later it will become like red, orange and yellow. The transition will be a lot smoother. We could use like another light yellow here, but I'm not going to do it today because that's why we will do it tomorrow in our Sunday session. We will add a lot more colors and a lot more details to the same scenery. So I'm holding it flat. Look at this. I'm using this flat end of the pastel to cover more areas. When I come closer to the mountain, I'm taking it straight so it doesn't go inside the mountains. But otherwise, I'm holding it flat so I can cover more areas. Right? So I'll give a few more seconds for you guys to finish it in case if you haven't finished yet. Now if you want, you can add a little red here and there. So that will give a different shade. So now I'll use my tissue to smoosh them and blend the colors. Right, so I'm going to use this again. So again, I'll start from the darker color. See, it's a lot smoother now. If you do it light, or if there's like too much of gap, then yeah, smudging will not be so smooth. So you know, when coming closer to these like mountains, we will be using different tools, so we will cover them in the next session. That's next week. Now we can use like cotton swabs or like blending stems. That's it. So then you can add a little more red, but I'll leave that to you guys. You can use your hand as well. Okay, I'll give a few more seconds for you guys to finish it, in case if you haven't finished yet. Okay, I think let's move on to mountains. Last week we just used pencil, and that was super simple. We just put like this and then we just color the whole thing with pencil. But today we are going to add a little more shade compared to this. Okay, so we're going to start with the peak, the highest point in your mountain, on the first one, and make it like a zigzag. Okay, that's why we are going to do it on all the highest peaks. It doesn't have to be in any pattern. It can be pretty random. Okay, again you are going to hold it a little flat. Right, once you're done, then you can be very random from here. The bottom, make sure it's black, otherwise you won't feel that frame kind of finishing. So we'll cover this first. I'll just make it random from there. We're not going to add like a whole lot of details, but this basic shading will help to give a different look to the mountain compared to the last week scenery that we did. Okay, that's it. If you want, you can make it a little dark. If you don't want, that's fine too, because I just want you to feel the difference between this, covering the whole thing with pencil and giving different shades. That's the whole intention of doing this pattern today, right? So you can make it dark, you can add like more red if you want, you can put like few birds if you want, I'll leave all those to you guys. You can add a whole lot of details to it. That's it, we are done with today's sketch. Now let me take out the tips. So the side ones are masking tape, right? So when I take out, you could see that it's ripping off the paper, or it will leave a few residues of glue. I'm not sure if you can see that on the camera. And when you pull off masking tape, you need to be very careful, otherwise it might damage the paper. You have to pull them upwards. Don't pull like this, do it outwards, away from the paper. So artist tapes will be a lot easier and smooth when you take them off, and they don't leave any residue at the page when you take them off. But still you need to be careful, and you need to pull that away from paper. Okay, that's it. Now you could do it on the sketch pad itself or the booklet itself, but you won't get this finishing. The frame look finishing will be great for oil pastels. So that's the reason we usually rip off from the books, and we border them with tapes. All right, so we started with this. I think we have made some progress today. We started to use double colors, though they are neighbor colors. We used double colors, and then we gave a different shade compared to last week, right? And tomorrow we will be doing this. It's pretty much the same scenery, but we are going to use all three primary colors: blue, red, and yellow. And we will try to introduce black. As I said in the first session, black oil pastel color is the toughest to use, but we will start to introduce black and white, and maybe little gray as well. So we'll try to add a little more detail compared to the first two sessions. So this is what we are going to do it tomorrow. All right, I think that's pretty much all for today. And before we wrap up, here's your practice art. We have used blue, red, yellow for this scenery, right? I just want you guys to give it a try with green. That's a secondary color. You could use green with any of these primary colors, or you could just use only green. I just want to have a mountain and green effect sky. It's like a northern lights. So I leave it to you guys. So give it a try and bring that tomorrow. We will review that, and then we will do this oil pastel scenery tomorrow. All right, that's it for today. Thanks guys, have a good one. Bye.